Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, this is Eric, and today we're giving our first thoughts on Yorgo Lanthimos's new film, Kinds of Kindness. It's an anthology, it's 3 stories, all of which are starring Willem Dafoe, Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Hong Chow, and other people. I'm forgetting. Hold on, let me check. You're new to Yorgo Lanthimos.
Yes.
This was your first movie by him you've seen. This is only my second. I saw Poor Things last year, and now this is my second time seeing any of his movies. So the other main actress is Margaret Qualley, who I know from something. She was in Once Upon a Time, she's in Poor Things, she's in Drive Away Dolls. I didn't realize, I think I did when I watched Poor Things, but I forgot that Yorgo Lanthimos is another feet guy. He's also apparently a leg guy. There's a lot of legs and feet in this movie. Unfortunately, I'm fairly new to the whole Yorgo Lanthimos thing. If you saw my Poor Things review, you know I'm kind of still on the fence with what I feel about him as a filmmaker, because I thought Poor Things was one of the best looking, best made films I'd ever seen, but I felt like the subject matter was iffy. What I meant by that, if you haven't seen it, was I thought like there's needless gratuitous nudity. I thought that the commentary that was being said was kind of surface levelly and unclear, and I just didn't love. There's a bug that is flying around. Got him.
Yum. Protein.
But yeah, so I was like, he's obviously a talented filmmaker, but I don't know if I like his films, honestly. Yeah. But I mean, I'd only seen the one, so I was definitely ready to give him another chance. This movie on paper is not typically something I love. I'm not a big anthology guy in general. Also, I mean, I do like weird indie artsy feeling stuff, but the plot from the trailer, I had no idea what it was. So it was nothing about it was screaming, "Come see me," other than Jesse Plemons. I love Jesse Plemons. And then my curiosity for Yorgo Lanthimos. So now that we've seen it, and you've seen your first, I've seen my second, what is your first thoughts?
Honestly, a lot of what you just said. Like, yeah. I liked a lot of what I saw, but there's a lot of stuff that makes you so uncomfortable with this plots, and every relationship was weird.
Yeah.
And not explained like that. I know, like, I'm okay with movies just ending and not really explaining, leaving it up to you, but I felt like everyone just left you.
Yeah, so I think a big part of that is each story is a contained allegory, I think. And I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on 2 of the 3, but because I feel like I don't understand the third one at all, I'm just like, do I understand the other 2? Yeah. Am I lost? Because what does that, and this isn't giving anything away, the middle one to me seems so different and detached than the first and third one. The first and third one together, I'm like, totally get this, totally understand. I feel like what's being said. I don't have, well, I was going to say I don't have all the puzzle pieces. I guess I do. I just don't know where they go.
The relationships between all the characters, really, and all of them just were sticking out to me, how weird they were. Yeah. And the first one, his relationship with his boss, I guess, like, I just wanted them to explain that relationship. Like, what is that? Like, what, like, is this... Obviously, it's some power fetish thing, but it's just weird. I don't know how they got into that.
Yeah, see, I feel like I can explain that to you. I think that is part of the allegory, and I'm curious, when I say there was an allegory there, do you have a theory for whatever?
No, to be honest, I was assuming there was, and I got nothing. Everything felt random and dumb. Okay. So I don't know. Cool. I have no idea what anything means. I was like, what the hell is he trying to say? Because I assume a lot of times with these stories you do. That's why you do 3 different ones. Sure. 2 different stories. There's
at least a connected idea behind it. Like Pulp Fiction, we've talked about that before, how that's like various reactions to, divine intervention. It's essentially what Pulp Fiction is about. So it's like you don't have to even necessarily interact with the same idea, because Bruce Willis in that one, his partaking in the analogy is being completely unaware that anything's happening. So maybe that's the thing with the second story in this, but I'll save my theories for what I think the analogies are for the spoilers, because I mean, I don't even know that I'm right, but I want you as a viewer to watch it with an open mind. So we'll probably get into spoilers pretty quick, because it's hard to talk about this movie without really getting into all the weird things that happened. All I can say is my opinion of him has not changed from the first movie, from Poor Things, because I still felt like there was so much needless, gratuitous nudity, moments that did not, to me, add anything to the plot. It was just, oh, but we could show off some titties.
Yeah.
Like, we could. And I'm like, you did, but why did you?
Yeah.
And like I said, the feet, lots of feet, lots of legs. Not complaining about the legs. I mean, that's not, I'll take it. I don't know. Once again, if I'm right about the commentary, it was interesting. I liked the commentary more than Poor Things, but I still didn't love it on a first thought, and maybe it's because I just don't understand it entirely and I'm thinking that. But, yeah, technically, once again, spectacular. I think Poor Things looked better than this movie did, but this movie still looked great. The acting, for the most part,
Yep. Okay. I was gonna say
great.
there was one, or at least two.
there was one actor, and I don't want to bully him because I believe he generally had some sort of speech problem. And all I will say is that he talked like RFK. Yeah. Similar thing going on there, I think. But if you eliminated that speech problem, he still had poor delivery. Oh, he still wasn't a good actor.
Glad you brought him up because he's one. But there's another actor I did not care for either.
Doesn't say anything. Nobody's talking about it.
Maybe they should.
So now we're just the assholes. The majority of the cast, though, is great.
Yeah,
Jesse Plemons,
really good.
Emma Stone,
Defoe,
Willem Dafoe, the girl, I keep forgetting her name. And I should make a point to say she was good in this because she was in a movie earlier this year that I tore her apart in. Margaret Qualley. She is a good actor in this.
What movie was she in?
She was in that Coen brother film, and the whole movie was terrible, so I don't really blame her for it, but she just had like a bad southern accent in it. But anyway, she was good in this, so she can act. The directing is legitimately great with really the contrast between like laugh out loud hilarious moments, and it's hilarious in different ways. Like there's a lot of dry humor and then a lot of just ridiculous stuff. Like the pregnant pauses is really where he gets me with the directing. It's just there's like, I don't even know how to describe it, but the way the pauses are done, even in just moments that you wouldn't think about making awkward, are made so awkward and so amazing by the directing. And then there's also just ridiculous, bizarre comedy, like people dancing for no reason, or just situational comedy where it's like, here, let's watch the family tapes, and then it's, I'm not going to say because I'll save it for a spoiler, but it's like just the last thing you're expecting the family tapes to be.
That was the first thing. I don't know why. My mind went there. My mind went there. I was like,
why are they bad friends?
And
why
then when they
want to watch,
I laughed harder because I was right. I was like, I can't believe I was right.
And then there was like a cut to a montage of dogs at one point that was hilarious. So there's just a lot of really, really funny moments. And then also when it wants to be dramatic and have dramatic moments, those are done really well too. So yeah, like I said, not a huge fan of anthology films, usually because, in the case I brought up Wes Anderson's earlier, if one story's bad, then you're like, well, I don't care anymore, and I wish I had just the good stuff. This, I don't feel like any of the stories stood out as being worse than the others. I will say, though, the second one was my least favorite because I understood it the least. So
I think it was mine too.
It could grow on me. I just didn't get it.
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
Yeah, the comedy worked well. It weaved in between the drama and stuff, and it worked really well. I liked it. His cinematography is great too. We had a few really good shots. There was one shot where Jesse Plemons was coming through a door, but there was a mirror and you couldn't tell it was a mirror, so you saw him and then he came in the door this way. Yeah. Did you catch that? I thought that was really cool. There's a couple of really nice shots with the camera
and
stuff.
Is a sucker for extreme close-ups with shallow focus.
Yes.
And they do look good. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So he did that a lot, and sometimes you'd be like, oh, so what am I supposed to be seeing right here? And it's like, no, it was just pretty. And you're like, oh, okay. Like at one point, he was reading a book, and so it's a really shallow focus, so you can like see like one word at a time, or like one line of words. And so I'm like, what should I be focusing on? And then you're like, no, it was just to show he was reading. So it is really good, although sometimes distracting cinematography, but it is really good. Like I said, amazing though that Poor Things, I still come away from going, that was even a better looking movie than this one. But his movies do look really pretty, very expertly made. You just might hate helpful.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like how I felt about The Lighthouse. I like everything about the movie but the movie. Like,
yeah,
it's weird. It's like I didn't hate this, I didn't love it.
I think understanding it helps enjoy it.
I could see it again. Obviously not right this second, but I could see it again. I'd be willing to see it again.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I didn't like about, like, directing wise, I didn't like the transitions that he used a couple times, especially in the last one. I think
there was a lot of slow fades.
Yeah, I didn't.
Why are we doing that?
They looked outdated.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of Star Wars, and it was just outdated. That is a very outdated thing to do.
I think that may have been well, it obviously was an artistic decision, but I think it was supposed to evoke a time period, which is the 70s. And I think that's why he did it, because it plays along with the analogy. It plays along with the allegory. So maybe it's not such a bad thing, even though I was distracted by it. I was like, why?
Well, one time you did like literally 3 in a row.
When we were on the boat.
Yeah.
It kept doing it. And I was like, stop it. So I think we're going to get into spoilers now. I can't even really give it a number rating, because like until I feel like I fully understand it, minimum it's a 6.5, but it could be a lot higher than that.
Yeah. It is hard to say because each story is its own thing. It's hard to give them overall story number when they don't connect. You'd have to give them each individually their own and then maybe average it out or something.
I think the first story was by far my favorite.
Yeah, mine too.
And then the third one I still really enjoyed, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. Mainly because, once again, the third one was where the most gratuitous nudity was there. I'm just like, we just like titties, man. And I get it. Like, me too. But come on. Yeah. What are we doing?
It's just, I don't know.
And see, and I don't want to sound like a prude here, because here's an example. In Wes Anderson's, the first one has titties, and it's my favorite of the 3. I don't think nudity is off limits. I think nudity can be done very well and artistically, and if you're using it for a reason, I'm totally cool with it. But the way they used it, especially in the third story, was just totally unnecessary. They just did it to do it.
I agree. Like, it's this. Well, I guess it had a sex scene with the one, but there wasn't a lot of sex scenes, just nudity, and like even sex scenes, like you don't need to go as far as they go. We just imply what's happening and move on. Like I'm not the same way with them.
Which there was several times they did.
Yeah.
It's just. But when they don't,
it's just because it can be distracting. Like it just takes you out of it. Like just close up on a titty, she's measuring her nipples, and like it takes you out of it. It's not funny. It takes you out of the whole feel of the movie. I'm a huge fan of that stuff. Again, don't mind it if it needs to be there, but this a lot of times didn't need to be there.
If it's done for so in the Wes Anderson one, he's painting the guard and she's nude because it's going to be a nude painting. I thought that was completely fine.
Yeah.
Same thing in Titanic. Literally the same thing. You're just doing a nude painting drawing of somebody. I'm okay with that being shown. I'm not bothered by it. Or if you're doing it for artistic expression, like in Oppenheimer, where she's naked because you were trying to convey how awkward you felt. And so it's like being naked in front of everybody. That's cool. And that actually is a good thing. And I like that. But really, when it just feels pointless, it just feels cheap. I'm just kind of like rolling my eyes at you because I'm like, you really just wanted to show titties. That's what you wanted to do. And I'm like, that's cool and all. Like, I think a woman's body is one of the most beautiful things in existence. And I like seeing it. But like, it feels cheap. It feels cheap. It's like when you just use vulgarity as a punchline in stand-up comedy. It's like, if you can prove that you can be funny without it, that's more impressive to me. You know, it's like, there's a lot of clean comedians. I hate to have to mention Bill Cosby, but he was the best at it. But it's like, when you can do that, I'm really impressed by you. But I mean, Brian Regan does it, Jim Gaffigan does it. When you're able to be funny without vulgarity, then that just proves that you're really talented at what you do.
Right.
And once again, it's kind of the same thing where it's like, you're relying on the beauty of a person's body part to be like, look, I'm artistic. And it's like, you didn't make the body part. You had nothing to do with that. You just picked it out of a lineup and said, that is perfect. Because that one actress, I have no idea who she was. You literally just picked her because you liked her boobs.
Yeah. Literally.
That's why you picked her. And
you talking the first girl?
The first girl that they had measured. And literally, she was cast for her boobs. Yeah, you could tell. I don't know. It just seems silly to me. Like, it doesn't like offend me. There we go. That's the phrase I should have said from the beginning. I'm not a prude about it. I'm not offended that you're using nudity. I think nudity is fair game in art. But when you use it, it just feels cheap.
Yeah.
That way. Anyway. All right. Let's get into spoilers. So if you don't want anything spoiled, you should go watch it first. Come up with your own opinions. Yeah. Come back and we can talk about it then, because it is a movie that needs, I think, to be discussed. But if you do leave, please remember to like, share. If you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. All right. If you had to guess what the allegory was, what were you thinking? Or were you just
I was hoping.
Static.
I was hoping to find one, and I didn't. I just felt things were random.
Okay.
Random. Artsy for being artsy's sake, almost.
Here is my interpretation. And it's barely an allegory, because the third one, they literally are in a cult of sorts.
Yes, yeah.
I think the first and third one, at least. I'm not sure what the connection is with the second story, but the first and third one were about being in a religion and trying to leave the religion. Because the whole thing with Jesse Plemons and Willem Dafoe in the first one is he's got this egomaniac in charge of every decision of his life, from his job, what he can and can't eat, which is also brought up in the third story, can't eat salmon, and making all the decisions for him. And when he tries to leave, he's ostracized from the community. He can no longer have contact or communication with any of these people. All of the people close to him leave him. His wife leaves him, and it's kind of like what it is leaving a cult or leaving a religion, especially like something like Mormonism. When you leave, your family literally cannot talk to you anymore. Scientology too, a lot of those cults are like that. And he wants the freedom to make his own decisions, but once he's given it, he is completely lost and wants to be told again what to do. Like, he asks the bartender, tell me what I should be drinking, and he just repeats stuff that he was already told. Like, he doesn't know how to hit on women. He has to go back to the same stupid trick again, and it doesn't work anymore, at least on the first attempt. Then he actually breaks his foot for the second try. And then I thought it was really interesting that, like, he seems to be making progress, but then he totally relapses, and part of that is he meets this girl who also happens to be in this cult. And at first I thought it was going to be like, oh, horror story, like you try and leave a religion and then you're like, oh, I finally met a person, oh no, they're in it too, and you have to run away from them. But that's not how it went. It went, he like got jealous of her opportunity, and it was like, this is my opportunity to get back into the cult and get them to love me again and get that acceptance that I miss. And so the whole thing is that he was tasked with killing somebody. He wouldn't do it. So then she's tasked with it, fails. So he then takes the opportunity to actually kill them. And now he's allowed back into the club, back into the cult, back into the religion. And, there's this very weird, creepy pastor / honestly God thing going on between him and his boss, where the boss literally acts like, you can take it two ways, either a pastor or God, where it's an abusive relationship where the person in charge is acting like they make every decision and you have to listen to every single thing that they tell you to do, and no matter what, they have to be in control of it, even from how you come into the room. Are you going to sit down? Are you going to stand up? Oh, you can't drink vodka, you should drink whiskey. All of these little tiny itty-bitty unimportant decisions are being dictated over him, lorded over him, and it really reminded me of a religious atmosphere or a cultish atmosphere. And then, like I said, in the third story, it's even more just blatant. They are in a literal cult and dealing with a very similar story of being ostracized from the community and then having to try to win back favor. And so she's weirdly enough kicked out for something that's not her fault. And like, at first I was trying to think, like, they're showing that cults and religions are bad and evil, right? But then her ex-husband, who she left to be in this cult, is equally or even more so evil because he drugs and rapes her. I'm like, what are we trying to say there? But let's get back to that. Because I think ultimately that story is once again about how bad and corrupt these cults and religions are, and how, they use and abuse people for their agendas without actually treating them like actual real people. People aren't allowed to have sex with whoever they want. They can't eat what they want. I mean, they literally are okay with somebody dying and then kidnapping this other person and forcing her, and then she ends up dying. And so it's all this stuff, like, they never once treated them like real people. They treated them like an object. They treated them like just something to use. And I thought it was also amusing, if you're going to compare it to Christianity, they finally found a savior and then accidentally killed the savior. That is hilarious. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what the messaging was, but ultimately I'm now still confused by the second story, because the second story does not fit that pattern at all.
I can see everything you're saying with that, especially on the third one. That's really on the nose with the cult. But I'm trying to feel like the ending where they killed the person they were supposed to save is a little more symbolic of something else. Not something else, but like, I guess trying to really drill the point home here. I'm trying to think what that could have really represented. So, trying to escape. What do you think? I mean...
Well, I think it is, you know, obviously, first and foremost, it's shock value comedy.
Yeah.
The surface level explanation of that moment is the whole point of this whole third of the movie has been find this person, get this person, and then bam, she's dead.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, shit. I think also, like I was saying, though, it does have a correlation with, if you're comparing it to Christianity, with, isn't it ironic that all of Christianity's basis is killing the person that's supposed to save them, and just being like, oh man, we fucked up. Yeah. So I don't know if there's another meaning beyond that, but that's how I took it. And like I said, I'm curious to know more, because that middle story was like a commentary on mental health and stuff. I think, I don't know, so, I'm kind of at a loss.
More so than like what that one means. I was thinking the whole time, who was crazy, her or him?
Both. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. That one, it started out, if you haven't seen it, but you're watching, spoilers, the second story starts out, the wife is missing, and then she comes back. She was stranded on an island, and she seemingly became a cannibal to survive. She rants about living in a society run by dogs. She's saying and acting weird in every way, and her husband is rightfully suspicious. But then around the halfway point of that story, he becomes completely insane, outright insane, and you're like, what? What was any of that? I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like how that would work religiously, if that would fit a theme. So it was like the coming back of Christ, right? She disappeared, maybe coming back.
But she's not like how you thought.
Yeah, that's not...
eating her body. Killing herself for you. She killed herself, and then she appeared again. And it was really her?
Yeah, and he was hugging. It was that all, but was that all even in his head? Because he's crazy at this point? Or was she really the crazy one and chopped her own finger off, and she... thought he asked her to do that?
Yeah, there's no outright religious explanation that I know for that middle story. And there's no clear, obvious answer for any of the middle story. Actually, frankly, I have no clue what they were trying to say.
Yeah, there was definitely some connective tissue as far as like hints and Easter eggs at the other ones.
Yeah, it's hard to determine the difference between like Easter eggs and meaningful connections, because I feel like a lot of those weird things are just genuine Easter eggs, and then other things are
just
connections.
Yeah.
Man,
it's funny how like you just watch this, but it's hard to, especially like three of them. It's tricky because I'm somewhat confusing the two stories or three stories or some of them. I'm like, oh, did that happen in this? And then I was just going to say something, but no, that was a movie I watched last night. That didn't happen in this movie.
Wasn't it really weird how they all just started playing poker in the middle? Oh, wait, no. God damn it, that was Casino Royale. It felt like a Black Mirror, like a Twilight Zone episode at first, where you're just like, oh, his wife's been replaced by a body snatcher or something.
Yeah, an alien or something.
And like her feet aren't the right size. Like, I don't know. It's just, there was a movie I watched recently where they were copying people. I just remembered what it was. I can't mention it now though, because it's a spoiler for that movie. And they weren't copying them exactly right though. And so I'm like thinking of that, and I'm like, interesting. But then it became seemingly just a commentary on insanity or something. And I'm just like, I don't know, maybe it's also about abusive relationships, because the second half was she was just doing whatever he told her to do, no matter how messed up it was. Willing to distance herself from people that genuinely cared about her in the process. But it's like, it felt like two distinct stories because there was a halfway point switch.
Yeah.
Where she was crazy in the first half, and then he was crazy.
And then she seemed to straighten up and was just being more of a victim.
Yeah, she was a victim. Yeah, she was doing weird decisions, but because of him.
Yeah.
I want to Google to see if, like, anybody has an explanation for this movie yet. I know it's cheating, but the mind-bending mystery stemmed from a conversation between Lanthimos and co-writer who wanted to explore relationships and memory. You can sometimes forget people that you love and you don't recognize them anymore. At some point, I had written this little thing about a woman offering parts of herself to someone to show her love. So as we were discussing the film, we felt these ideas together made sense. So it is kind of about, like, a broken, abusive-ish relationship. You're just, like, offering yourself to them.
But also, it wasn't offered, it was asked. It was requested of.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It's, I mean, same. I mean, do whatever it takes for the loved one, but it's still a little different. You're not the one going out of your way to do it. You're just doing it because...
Oh, the liver was a real liver.
Ah.
It was of either a pig or a cow, I can't remember. So it's Lanthimos. That doesn't sound like there's any sort of religious connection then.
No, it doesn't sound religious at all. Losing sight of who your loved one is. Yeah.
I think maybe that still ties into the overall message of when you are dealing with passion and love, you're willing to go to extreme lengths and self-harmful lengths. You're willing to kill yourself or others to try to receive the love that you want. I think that's kind of the overall message of this movie in that light, is that it's dangerous. It's dangerous to be that invested in anything or anyone, because whether it's a cult, whether it's a boss, whether it's a lover, no matter what it is, you can't give them that power over you. You have to retain yourself. You have to be yourself and be self-sufficient, or it will destroy you, no matter what the obsession is.
Nah.
I was just about to be like, I think we cracked it, bro. I think we cracked it, bro.
Nothing like that.
Nah, that makes too much sense. Fuck that.
He wouldn't do that.
Does that make sense? I feel like that's a good explanation. That's actually making me kind of rethink that the first story was an allegory for religion and may have just had correlations, because then it's like three vastly different examples. It's work life, it's home life, and it's religious life, or whatever you want to call it, spiritual life. I still think there was some darn strong correlations between the work life and a religious spiritual experience. And now I really want to rewatch it and look for that as, like, is that just me putting that on there because of my personal experiences, or was that really being said?
Maybe in his life, like, work is becoming like a religion, like it's a way of life. You know what I mean? So it's controlling his life of every aspect of it. I can relate to that a little bit. Yeah, just you just work so damn much, and you work hard, and you're dedicated to the company that it becomes your life, and that's the only thing that controls you. What you eat, you know, when you have sex, who you have sex with, I guess. In restaurants, you only work with. The only people you can hang out with are people who work in the restaurant industry yourself, so you're probably banging them.
I'm not.
No.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, totally not.
Is that guy got a ukulele? Yeah, I don't know. I think, actually, I'm really glad, because the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm like, okay, I kind of like this even more than I thought. Like, I had said that the floor of it was a 6.5. Now I'm like, the floor is a 7 to me now. The floor has moved up. It's like we're on an elevator.
Or, I mean, it could just be symbolic of anything that's, like, controlling you in your life and not letting you be the person you want to be. It doesn't have to be, but it definitely has some correlations between religion, for sure.
That whole thing with the sauna, too, I really enjoyed all of the cult shit. I was just like, yep. Cults, man.
Yeah.
I studied these in college.
Even the lady going as far as like licking her, like that just sounds weird.
Yeah, it was all just very, like, it reminded me of like the witch trials or whatever, where they're setting up these extreme and ridiculous circumstances and dictating what they mean. Like, death by cake or trial by cake. You know about that? That's not witch trials, but that was like a certain point in time when they would literally decide if you were guilty or not by feeding you a piece of cake, and if you choked on it, it meant you were guilty.
I've heard that expression.
Yeah, trial by cake. But yeah, now I really do want to watch it again, because I'm like, was the first one really about religious stuff? Because it's hard not to take it that way. I'm doubling down on that being religious, because he literally was controlling his entire life, and once he tried to leave that job and go somewhere else, his wife left him, his life fell apart. That's religion to me. That was a cult to me. So that's why I'm still confused that the second story doesn't seem to have anything to do with religion and cults. Granted, they all have an overarching message that applies, but it's weird that 2 out of 3 have a more specific message, and then the third one's a little more vague.
Right.
I don't know. But I think I do like it. Which is funny, because I think I said that about Poor Things too after I was done reviewing. I was like, I think I like it. I think.
Have you seen Poor Things since?
Nope. No. Not really. Not in a rush to. I'm not opposed to it. But, like, if I wanted to watch porn, I would. Yeah. Like, I don't need really artsy, boring porn. Yeah. Although that movie is also hilarious. It really is hilarious. One of my favorite bits in the whole thing is they're, like, referencing the Stella. Because her name is Bella. Oh, God. And she kicks him out and, like, gets rid of him, and Mark Ruffalo comes to her hotel balcony and goes, Bella! And I died when that happened in the theater, and nobody else reacted. I'm like, y'all need to take a history of film class.
Yeah, for real. There's nobody, I mean, damn it. That movie, I would imagine it would have been artsy people.
Yeah, I think it was good. Like I said, I feel like it's around a 7 or something, at least.
Yeah. Oh, just, honestly, just... directing and like all that stuff is good enough to be
very well put.
Thanks, man.
You should direct a movie
one day.
Teach a film class, maybe.
What is it? Starting small, little bit roles, a bigger role in your next movie, and then I'll produce. I'll write a little something.
I would love to see you teach a film class using the vernacular. It's like, you see this scene how they did like directing and stuff.
All the directing stuff.
That's what you want in a movie. Is directing stuff. It's just good.
Yeah, nothing more, nothing less. Just directing stuff. That's all you need, man.
All right, I think we're gonna end it there. Unless you have any more profound words of wisdom for us.
No, man. Just end it and stuff.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any theories about it, or if you feel like you understand it completely, let us know. I would love to hear your opinions. And also, if you just have opinions on any of the directing stuff, let us know that too. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
It's an allegory. What's the word?
Allegory.
Allegory for the Smurfs. That's what it was. The Smurfs.
How?
You know. Directing stuff.
You're right. I do know, yep.
Directing stuff.